Well, hi there, boys and girls. We're going to go over some exponent review, and this should be pretty easy. I just want to make sure we're on the same page before we do exponentials and logarithms. I'm not going to read these to you. I'm going to let you pause me and copy all of these down. But the big one, the one that most people have a problem with, is rational exponents. And I want you to think about this. If you have a to the c over b, you need to know that the top is the power and the bottom is the root. So it's power over root, and you can see that how it's rewritten. A to the c over b, the c is the power and the b is the root. So an example would be like a to the 2/5. This would be a squared and the 5th root of that. So it's power over root. That's the one that most people have a hard time with. All right, let's just get after this and do some examples so we can get done with this and do some easy exponents tomorrow. When you are multiplying like bases, x to the 5th times x to the 3rd, you are going to add these exponents together. And so this would be x to the 5 plus 3 or x to the 8th. If you are dividing like bases, you are going to subtract exponents. So this is x to the 5 minus 3 or x squared. Yay! Hopefully it's pretty easy for you guys. Then when we have a power to a power, that's when you're going to multiply. So this would be x to the 15th power. Pretty straightforward. You probably remember all of this. We can't go forward unless we have this review. Now if you have a product that's being raised to a power, this means you're going to take x to the 4th to the 3rd, which is x to the 12th, and also y to the 5th to the 3rd, and that would be y to the 15th power. Hopefully you're doing great. If you have a fraction to a power, you do the same thing. It's the top, x cubed to the 4th would be x to the 12th, and also the bottom is raised to the 4th, and so that would be y to the 8th. Hopefully we're still doing well. Anything to the 0 power, as long as it's not 0 to the 0 power, is equal to 1. This is the same thing as 8 to the 0 and then x to the 0, which would be 1 times 1, which is just 1. Now, negative exponents. Got to be careful here. This does not mean it's a negative number. This is the same thing as 1 over 8 squared. So this would be 1 over 64. I think I've got another negative exponent here. Now, here the negative exponent is on the x. It's not on the 4. So the 4 is going to stay there, and the x to the 3rd is going to come to the top, and that will be 4x to the 3rd like that. Hopefully you're still doing well. All right, now let's do this fractional exponent stuff. This means I've got 16 and x. I've got the 1/4 power. This means 16 to the 1/4 and also x to the 1/4. Now, there is a 4th root of 16. There is a number where 4 factors of that number turn into 16, and that is 2. So this is one way of rewriting that. You could also write this as 2 and then leave the x in the 4th root. Either one of these are fine with me. That's the fractional exponent. Notice that the power on the x is just a 1. It's power over root. Now this one is pretty interesting. This means this is z to the 1/2, and we're going to take the 1/7 root of that. So I've got a little radical inside a radical. So I've got z to the 1/2 and then the 1/7 root of that. This is going to be the same thing as z to the 1/14th power. The 7th root of the square root of z. You can even do more square roots out here, and it looks pretty cool. But that's just z to the 1/2 and the 7th root of that. So you take a power to a power and you multiply, and I think we're done. I'll see you guys tomorrow.